up the determination of transition temperature of the given salt hydrate by thermometric method. This is a very important experiment which will be definitely asked in the examination. It is one of the performance experiments for which you will be awarded 20 marks if you do it correctly. Procedure writing carries 5 marks. Your record will carry 5 marks. Viva was 5 marks. Totally you will be taking up your examination for 35 marks. Now coming to the experiment, what is transition temperature? Transition temperature. Transition means a change. So here there is going to be a change of the state of the substance from one form to another form. In this case, we are studying the change of the state of crystalline salt to an amorphous salt. Now all of you are familiar with copper sulfate. Copper sulfate pentahydrate, which has the formula CuSO4 5H2. All of you are familiar that it is blue in color and it is crystalline. When you apply heat on copper sulfate crystals, gradually it loses its blue color, it also loses its crystalline state and it gets converted into an amorphous compound. It loses its color, it becomes colorless. If you add a drop of water to it, it regains its color. This shows that water is responsible both for the color as well as the crystalline state of copper sulfate. Now today we are not taking copper sulfate, but we are going to take up sodium acetate salt hydrate, where sodium acetate is associated with 3 molecules of water. When you heat this salt hydrate, it breaks down into sodium acetate and water. This separation of water molecules from sodium acetate takes place at a specific temperature, and that temperature is referred to as transition temperature. So transition temperature is the temperature at which a substance, that is in this case a salt hydrate, changes from one crystalline form to another crystalline form or to an amorphous form, as in this case. So how do we go about this experiment? First, the apparatus used here consists of an inner tube and an outer jacket. The inner tube is fitted inside the outer jacket during the course of the experiment. Now in the inner jacket, you are going to take your salt hydrate whose transition temperature we want to find out. So we take about 10 to 15 grams of the salt hydrate, and to it we will add about 5 centimeter cube of paraffin, liquid paraffin. This is added so that when you are heating, you are able to uniformly distribute heat all through the crystals. So for this, we take paraffin and we also introduce a stirrer. The stirrer is a copper wire which has a ring at the bottom, and through this ring is passed a thermometer which helps us to record the temperature. Both these are introduced inside a 2-hole rubber cork, and this rubber cork is fitted to the inner tube. So we have the inner tube, the thermometer, the 2-hole rubber stopper, and we have the stirrer, copper stirrer. The salt is taken about 15 grams, and we also add about 5 centimeter cube of liquid paraffin, and we are going to keep stirring the mixture all through so that whatever heat we supply gets uniformly distributed. Paraffin helps to keep it in a lubricated state so that you can easily mix the contents. Now this is taken and introduced into an outer jacket. The outer jacket is kept inside a water bath. I will show you later. A water bath here, actually we make use of a copper container, but then to introduce this large outer jacket, we use the beaker containing water. Pause. Heat. As we heat the contents, the temperature inside the tube keeps on increasing. Now what we do is, for each given salt hydrate, you have a specific range at which you check the transition temperature. For this compound that we have taken, for this salt hydrate that we have taken, we take a range of about 45 to 65 degree centigrade. So in the examination, if you are given this experiment, you have to ask the examiner what is the range. The examiner will give you the range and you will record the readings from this range. Now what I mean is, you start heating the contents will be getting heated up, the temperature keeps rising. Until it reaches 45, we will not record the temperature. When it reaches 45, we will take the time to be 0 and whatever temperature you record on the thermometer, we put it down here. Then we keep on stirring. We will come to the next minute. At the first minute, again we record the temperature and we put it down as Y, and this goes on. You will find that when you are doing the experiment, initially the temperature goes on increasing. So if you were to plot a graph, you will find that it will keep on increasing. After some time, you will keep getting the same value again and again. Repeatedly you are going to get the same value, that is, you are going to get a constant value. So if you were in the graph, you will find that it gets flattened out. And then after a certain interval of time, again it increases. Now what is happening here is, when you are heating it initially, all the heat that you are supplying is used up for just heating up the apparatus, the contents. When it reaches the transition state, whatever energy you are supplying will be used for converting the substance from one crystalline form to another form. Once it is converted, all the conversion of all the molecules is over, again the temperature increases. Okay. Now this is called as a heating curve because you are observing the values while you are heating. Later what we are going to do is, we will stop the heating process and we will start cooling it down. So when you are cooling it, it will be at a high temperature because you would have stopped somewhere here, it will be at a high temperature. You start cooling it goes down, it keeps on decreasing. Again when it reaches the transition temperature, it becomes flat until all the substance gets converted back from what it was here to here. So it gets converted and then again the temperature decreases. So we are going to get constant values not only in the heating curve but also in the cooling curve. In the examination, if you get the right values either in the heating curve or in the cooling curve, then you are awarded full marks. If you get in both, it's extremely good, but if you get at least in one of them correctly, then you get full marks. So the temperature at which you are getting the constant values, it is extrapolated. From here, you extrapolate it to the y-axis where you have the temperature, you will get to know what is the transition temperature of your given salt hydrate. Okay. So while plotting the graph, on the y-axis we take temperature in terms of degree centigrade, and along the x-axis we take time in terms of minutes. Here, one important thing that you have to notice, we make use of a 1/10 degree thermometer which you are not so far used to. Generally, the thermometers would be 1 degree, next reading is 2 degrees, 3, 4, 5 and so on. But here, between every 2 degrees, there are 10 divisions. So for example, here you have, this will be 3.1, 3.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9 and 4. So this will be 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9 and 5. So you should very carefully read the thermometer. It's very important. So before you start the experiment, first take the thermometer, become familiar with the readings, go through the readings and then start with the experiment. So before we start the experiment, we should be ready with a sheet of paper or your observation notebook in which you will be recording your values. So, for recording, we have heating. For heating, we have for cooling, we record the time and then the temperature. Again for cooling, the time and the temperature. So, the apparatus is all ready. We have the burner, the tripod stand, a wire gauze, a beaker containing water which we refer to as water bath. Then you have the critical solution temperature apparatus which consists of the outer jacket, the inner tube with a 2-hole rubber cork, a thermometer and a copper stirrer. Inside you can make out, we have taken the salt hydrate about 15 grams and to it has also been added paraffin. Paraffin hakidira? Paraffin. Liquid paraffin. The amount of liquid paraffin you add should not be in excess nor should it be deficient. You should take the right amount such that it just submerges your salt hydrate. Then we light the burner. The burner until it reaches the range, the lower range. In this, for this salt hydrate, it is 45. So until it reaches 45, you can keep it on a large flame. When it attains a temperature of 45, which you can see here, immediately you lower down the temperature. And one important thing is, there should be a continuous stirring of the contents during this experiment right from the beginning until the end, both while heating as well as cooling. Both while heating as well as cooling, you will have to keep stirring the mixture. You can see that the mercury column is slowly rising. It cannot be captured in the camera there, but then we find that the black line is rising, which will be visible to you while you are performing the experiment. Keep stirring until it attains a temperature of 45%. Now we are at 44.5. We are reaching the lower temperature indicated in the range. I am at 45. 45 degree centigrade. Every 1 minute I have to record the temperature. The stop clock has been started. When it reached 45, we will reduce the flame here. The flame should be as minimum as possible. Keep stirring. The thermometer should reach the bottom of the tube easily. The temperature is at 48 the first minute. Keep stirring. Reduce the flame further. The temperature should be as minimum as possible. Otherwise, you will miss your transition temperature. That will suddenly jump. You may not get too many values. Keep the temperature, keep the flame minimum. Constant stirring are two important requirements. Constant stirring and the flame should be kept minimum. Second minute, I get a value of 52. Keep stirring. Use a stop clock to set the time, or else you can use your watch as well if you are able to record every minute easily. but every minute you should record the temperature. I have finished the heating, so I am removing the flame. We will put off the flame. I have got values. Initially it increased, then I got this many continuous constant values, again it increased. We'll stop with the heating process. Now we'll go to the cooling process. For the cooling process, first we have to remove very carefully. The water bath is very hot, so you have to very carefully remove the apparatus from the beaker, and then you have to remove half of hot water and replace it with half of cold water. Okay? Half of hot water and replaced it with equal volume of cold water. And now I start the cooling process. I start taking down the readings. Now the temperature right now is at 65. So I'll bring it down. 65 becomes 0 at 0 minute. I'll continue taking the values. These are the values that I've got for the heating curve and for the cooling curve. Heating curve, I have got 59 as the constant continuously. I have got around 18 values. And cooling curve, again we have the values. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 59 at 59. So this is a very good reading. So what we do here is, in order to see that both graphs coincide, both the values coincide, I have about 4 values here above 59. So above 59 I will take only 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that the fifth value is 59, and here also the fifth value is 59. Accordingly, this will change. This remains to be 1, 2, 3, 4 time. Here it changes. 3 now becomes 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? Sorry. It should be at the 5th minute. I am getting it. It's right. This should be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and 0. So at the 5th minute I get 59. Here also 5th minute I get 59. And we take the values. Okay. Now on plotting the x-axis, on plotting the heating values, I get this graph. I round it off so that it becomes more easily visible, and then I connect the points with a smooth curve. Don't use a scale here. It should be a smooth curve. So take it this way. Connect the points. So this is called the heating curve. Similarly, I will plot the cooling curve and come back. Now we have the heating curve and the cooling curve. Both of them are coinciding at this. So we will extrapolate this to the y-axis. Now this is now our transition temperature. The transition temperature we found out was 59 degree centigrade. So your graph should have the x-axis. You should indicate what you are taking on the x-axis, what you are taking on the y-axis. You should have put down the scale. X-axis is equal to 1 centimeter equal to 2 minutes. Y-axis 1 centimeter is equal to 1 degree centigrade. Indicate the heating curve, indicate the cooling curve, indicate the transition temperature, and mention the transition temperature. If everything is perfectly given, then you will be awarded 5 marks. Now we'll just take a quick look at the board. So, today we gave you sodium acetate, which on heating dissociated into sodium acetate plus 3 molecules of water. On cooling, it reassociated to give us back the salt hydrate. This is the salt hydrate and this is the anhydrous form of sodium acetate. Instead of sodium acetate, they can also give you strontium chloride, which is associated with 6 molecules of water, or they can give you sodium thiosulfate, which is associated with 5 molecules of water. So, any one of these salts can be given in the examination. So, depending on how you get your values, you are evaluated. If there is a difference, what is the expected value for sodium acetate? 58. How much have we got? We have got 59. So, the error person, if the error difference between what I have got and what is expected is plus or minus 1, I get full 15 marks. So, since I have got 59 here and the expected is 58, the difference is 1, I get full 15 marks. 5 marks for the graph. If the difference is plus or minus 1.5, that is, if your value is either 59.5 or it is 56.5, you lose 2 marks, you get 13. The difference is plus or minus 2, you get 11 and so on. And finally, if you get a difference of more than plus or minus 4, you get only 2 marks. So this is about the experiment. I hope you have understood how we go about the experiment. Thank you.